All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is another episode of Fresh Takes where I've got some top speakers, whether it be in the business of speaking or the art of speaking, going to be interviewed on their fresh takes on what it takes to succeed as a speaker. So today I've got this great gentleman who I met years ago. His name is Nick Jackson. Nick's out of Cincinnati, Ohio. We actually, I think the first time we met was at a conference. A lot of people who I interview find out like we start to meet at conferences, but just love Nick's energy. I love Nick's passion. Also, Nick and I learned that, we are believers. So Nick is always there for me to just, throw some ideas off of and just kind of keep me straight. So ladies and gentlemen, I want you to kind of put your hands together. Nick, you can put your hands together for yourself. We got Mr. Nick Jackson.
Hey.
Yeah. So Nick, obviously I know you, we haven't actually we've worked at one conference together. So, but we connect, we talk, we keep each other going. So I know who you are, but just for everybody watching this, I've got a lot of people who are looking to be aspiring speakers. I got people who are looking to aspire to be professional speakers, and some people just want to get over the fear. But let them know, who are you, and how did you get into this whole speaking game?
Yeah, definitely. So my name is Nick Jackson, NickJacksonSpeaks.com, and I also am the founder and director of the Speak Love movement. I am Speak Love, hashtag I am Speak Love. I'm a motivational listener. I would like to say that I'm a speaker, but I am a listener, and what I do is I connect people to their higher purpose by getting in line with their calling. And in a lot of places, I can't necessarily say that. So I am the master of positive communication and speaking love to oneself, drive, and accountability. That's what I do.
Now, I know people listen to this, so I got to bring it up right now because they're going to ask. People are going to say when they watch you on stage, and I know I've heard students say it to you when you spoke to youth groups, they say you sound like a pastor. So are you a pastor?
You know what? I am an ordained minister since 2006, but my Sundays are spent in the pews, and my Mondays are spent on stage. So I'm a little bit different than the usual pastor.
Got it. Yeah, and I know, as I said, you always look to give back to your community and help people out. But I know you've got a unique journey as far as the speaking, because a lot of people think that speaking only happens up on a stage. But for many years, your speaking happened in a classroom, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I started off as a teacher and a football coach, and I had the opportunity to do a baccalaureate, which is the send-off service for the seniors. And Chris Collinsworth just so happened to be in the stands. His daughter was graduating that year, and I coached his son in football. And it was a great event, and he asked me if I'm ready to get out of the classroom and get on stage. And so he had a nonprofit with Anthony Munoz and the Cincinnati Reds, where they were trying to motivate young people to get involved in community service. And he was like, this is the piece that we're missing. So my first speech was in the Cintas Center. It was thousands of people, and I was scared absolutely to death. Let me tell you, to go from like a little Bible study kind of a situation where you have just a few people to looking at, 6,000 people in a college basketball arena. It was something else, but I'll never forget that first opportunity to share what I love.
Yeah, now I got to think about that one. You've got a guy right now who's, I believe, on NBC broadcasting Sunday Night Football, and then you've got another person who is an NFL Hall of Famer. So you got Anthony Munoz and you got Chris Collinsworth, and they come up to you and say, we think that you should be a speaker, and they're going to throw you in an arena with 6,000. I mean, like, how does that make you feel? Like, what's the impact of having – I'm sure you see these people like, okay, they're famous, they're big time, they're always in front of people, but they come up to you and say, hey, we want you. I'm like, how does that make you feel?
Scared, right? Let me 100% absolutely frightened. Because for me, I do this because I love it. I see a lot of speakers that want to get on stage to tell their story. My thing is not that. My thing is that I want to get up and I want to listen. And as I'm listening, I'm changing what I'm talking about. I'm moving with what we call the speak. Like I am in a situation where I am completely bare before my listeners, and I have an opportunity to share. So when you're just doing work, like when you're speaking and you're loving people, and I also do coaching too, right? And so you're coaching people. What you're doing is you're listening for the places where you know that there's a dry spot, where there's an issue, right? And then you're inflicting these methods and this methodology that you use in your own life. So it's it's just doing the work. So when they asked me to do it, I really didn't think anything of it until I was in the arena. And I was sitting here thinking like, oh my goodness, what I get myself into, right?
Oh, yeah.
I had absolutely no idea how big what I was, because when you're doing the small things, sometimes you think that they're small because there's only a few people there.
Yep.
And you're missing it. You're missing it. The goal is impact, right? Not necessarily popularity. And popularity will come. The thing is now to make the impact. And so I was really honored that someone even noticed.
Yeah. And I love the piece that you said about listening, because listening is an active piece. Hearing is inactive. We can hear, but we have to listen. Listen means we are, in tune. We are paying attention. And I had a acting coach years ago goes, hey, you know what? You're more of an entertainer or speaker than an actor, because he goes, with the actors, you have to just don't pay attention to the crowd. Just and do your deal. But she goes, yeah, you're always, quote, listening or paying attention to the crowd to adjust. So for you being on stage and talking about this listening piece, what do you do to listen to the crowd, and how does listening to the crowd affect your overall presentation on stage?
Absolutely. That's a great question. I know. So it's a three-pronged thing for me. One, there's a pre-meeting between me and the people who are paying me, right? So I want to make sure whatever they're getting is met. So I'm listening to them and I'm asking questions like, if you had one thing that you would want everyone to know, what would that thing be? I'm also asking, where are we falling off? Like, where are we missing it? Right? And then I'm also asking, what have we previously done? So I'm asking those three questions before I even get to the stage. We do a 30-minute pre-assessment, if you will. Then on stage, what I'm doing is I'm looking at faces, right? I'm also looking at intentions, which is an interesting thing, right? Like, how could I tell what your intention is, right? And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to watch body language, and really it's a spiritual sort of connection, right? Then outside of that, I'm reacting on what I'm reading. And it's very similar to being in a situation where you're meeting someone for the first time. You're watching their anxiety, you're watching their body language, you're watching their eye contact, you're watching their hands, and you're looking for voice inflection, things like that, right? And so I'm doing the same thing while I'm on stage, but I have a foundation based upon what I previously know and the pre-meeting that we've already had.
Yeah, so you're doing that research to make sure you can provide the best experience. So obviously you speak to 6,000 people, and I'm assuming they liked it, because now you're this professional speaker. So once you finish with the 6,000 people, you're afraid, the heart's coming out the chest. What happened from there? Because you're still working this teaching and coaching job. Like, so how'd you go from 6,000 people to speaking career?
Yeah, I just kept doing it. One of the things that I did was I took a lot of free gigs, and I really started to hone my craft. And then when I had opportunities to say, because there's a change from speaking and being in the business of speaking. And this is actually one of the things that I learned from you. I was not very good at going out, getting deals, closing deals. What happened when I spoke to 6,000, then we spoke to more and sometimes less, people that were there in the crowd were moved by the impact, and then they contacted me. The problem with that was I got very comfortable. There was a time, I'll never forget, you asked me for our mailing list, and I was like, I don't even have a mailing. They hit me up, right? I had no idea, the different, and I'm still not as good at that as I need to be. That's another place in the business I need to get better at, that I could really learn from you, Frank, because you are killing it in this, right? But I didn't really do any fishing for gigs because of the NFL and because of the NCAA and other places that I was able to speak. There were people there that were booking me, and I was surviving, right? Yeah. And so in that, what happened was I was surviving, and now we're moving to a place of thriving. So in thriving, you have to put yourself out there more, right? In thriving, you have to find the market, what the market needs. Not everybody's going to know you. And I can't lie, I was a little bit cocky going into the game because so many people knew me. I really didn't have to really get involved in the business and writing contracts and understanding what it means to have a lawyer look at your stuff, and then being able to fulfill, what the contract is that they're giving you. All of these kind of things are really new. And I've been really blessed with the opportunity to have a lot of people that have supported me, like on the side. And then we built a company, so I have speakers that speak underneath me now. But yeah, I just kept talking. To answer your question.
You just kept talking. Yeah, I mean, as you said, you and I have talked, business, art, just, we've talked about life. But yeah, I mean, it is something, and you can share with everybody listening to this, is there's definitely, being a speaker and having a speaker's mindset, because that mindset is to just do a great job and provide a great, information to people. But then there's a professional speaking side, which is, well, guess what? You could have the greatest speech in the world, but if you don't have opportunities to present it to people, then guess what? No one gets to hear you. So, I mean, so you said you've been evolving and growing. What are you doing these days to I don't want to say ensure, but to give yourself more opportunities to be on stages? Like, what are some of the things you do to grow yourself as a business person?
Right. So it's multiple fold, right? But the biggest thing that I'm doing, and I was doing this in the beginning and not noticing that I was doing it, making sure you hit home runs every time you're behind the mic. The best way to sell your product is to bring the absolute best to every stage, every chance you get, and allow the people to be the fans. So allow them to connect with you as a fan, allow them to relate with you as a fan. And as long as you're doing this, right, you're going to continue to sell. Outside of that, right, I'm also doing more market testing. So I'm having conversations with people like you, Frank, asking how you're doing, asking what's going on. Actually, I really need to have another, because we've had some great conversations. But like, I'm talking to the people who are in the business. And something that I also didn't do because I was a little bit cocky, I never joined the NSA. That's something that I'm doing this year. And this is a professional speakers guild that's international, and then the National Speakers Association. And I kind of felt like I didn't need to, because I had gigs, I had things coming in. But when it comes to thriving, it's actually allowing yourself to be open to criticism and to how other people do it, and not just mastering what I'm doing. So, and the last thing, and this is the thing that I am so bad at, and I need to get better at it. So I can't even say that this is what I'm doing. Cold calls. I hate them. I can't stand cold calls. Matter of fact, if it's cold cuts, cold calls, cold everything, I want it hot. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, cold coffee.
Yeah. Cold coffee's horrible, right? And so it's getting used to being, I'm Nick Jackson. This is what I provide. This is my promise to you. And really, Frank, you've done a great job of really narrowing down exactly what you do, so they know what they're buying. And that's going to be my next step.
Yeah. So, going in that direction, since you're kind of points that way, as of right now, who is your target market? Because when I speak with speakers and share information, I told people, I was like, hey, you know what? If you like goldfish, I trained a group a few weeks ago. I was like, if you like goldfish, guess what? There are goldfish conventions all around the country who are looking for speakers. Like, that could be your target market. So for you, as of right now, I know you start out with the youth market, but what are the target markets you're working with right now?
Yeah, so with the youth, with the I Am Speak Love movement, it's all about character, leadership, anti-bullying, anti-suicide, but we all boil that down to positive identity. And it's the same thing that we do with our companies too. But in our positive identity for companies, it's more about efficiency in the workplace. So workplace efficiency based on diversity, inclusion, equity, and positive identity. And so that's my two target markets.
Yeah. Now you keep saying the word we, and I know I've seen some pictures online and stuff. So you say you said we, the speakers of love. So are there more than, quote, one Nick Jackson out there?
Yeah, there is only one Nick Jackson. Let's go ahead and say that right now.
Just one.
There's only one. And we have a team of people. I have female speakers that are speaking with us. I have male speakers. I have a COO that does our operations, make sure my mics are working when my mic is working when I get to the establishment. We have CFOs or people that work with my finances. It's been good. And actually, I'm also looking to hire personal assistant to help with my scheduling and things of that nature. And then also we have a marketing team where we have people. I do One Word Wednesdays. If you ever look at my stuff, it's very raw on the street, and it's similar to this, where we're kind of allowing the conversation to kind of control itself, where we're both riding along with that, and we're gaining and getting information based on the intimacy of relationship. And so we got a team now, which is great.
Yeah. So essentially what you're saying for everybody watching, and the one piece like we're sharing to learn, is you don't do everything by yourself. You actually have to have the support network and team, not only to help you behind the scenes, but because you're popular and people may want you on a Thursday, but 4 people may call you on Thursday, you actually have a group of speakers that you've helped train who can still provide the same, not the same level, but the same content at a high level to your clients.
Absolutely, absolutely. Do you mind if I ask you a question? Because
Go
this is
for it.
one
Go for it.
this is
We're
on
going
my
back and
mind.
forth. It's a conversation.
So how, because I know you've run with other people and
Mhm.
you've been on stage with other people and there's videos of it, right? And then there's also things that you've done by yourself.
Yes, sir.
What is easier for you? Is it easier for you to run with your friends or in a pack, or is it easier for you to be Frank Kitchen and just do that stuff?
Early on, I will say it was good to run in the pack because that was like almost my safety blanket or group.
Right.
So I knew I had, my friend Roger Campbell, and he'd be there. And I know that Roger is always at a high level. Like you said, you got to bring your best into the stage. So I know that he would be up, and if I was down, that he would almost like push me to get up. So back to the sports analogy, you got the rest of your team. You can't let the team down. So that always kept me at a high level, or vice versa. But as I grew and developed, I would say now I am more comfortable with myself because, let's say, I understand the playbook. I know what plays I want to run. And, if I want to go off on a tangent, I want to go and do, because when I'm working with a team, if I do that, I can throw people off.
Right.
So I have
Yeah.
the ability to jump on stage and work with people as a team if people really enjoy that. But easier for me at this point is to be Frank. It sounds funny to be, but truthfully is to be me. And it's been an evolution where I've had to work as a partner with different groups. But I also recognize mentally for me, it actually held me back a little bit because I actually would tone myself down, trying not to, quote, outshine other people. So now, I told people like, man, it's like, you are cutting loose, you're being crazy. And I'm going, one is I want to make the person who brought me in look good. As you said, every time I step on stage, I want to give the best job possible because it's a job interview for future work. The other one is I got a family to take care of, and I don't want to let them down. So if I've got to, quote, pass out on stage, like I put up a post that people follow me on social media where I did an event, and like I realized I was like 7,000 feet up in like Lake Tahoe, and my nutritionist, you talk about having a team, like, hey, we want to track, how much calories you're burning. I'm like, I'm always feeling tired. I burned over 1,000 calories in an hour and a half on stage. That's how much energy I had expended and sweat through working with the audience. But the case is, I feel the audience deserves that. And the thing is, back to you said about being the best on stage, as soon as I stepped off, two people came up and go, hey, we want you. And instantly that same day, someone pretty much gave me a contract for a deal 3 months down the line, just by giving my best on stage. So as you said, what am I comfortable with is like, it's like, I know I can control me. I can be my best on stage. So so for me now, I don't want to call it arrogant or cocky, but like, I like being by myself on stage.
Yeah. I feel that. I know for me, when I first started, it was just me, and I was so lonely. Because of what you said, the amount of energy that you put up on stage, the amount of people that are coming to you, and if you are a natural speaker, you do this without any issue. Like you're just naturally an impacting, passionate man, and so people feel that passion. But then on the other hand, very rarely do you feel like you're off stage. And people see you in a grocery store, and people see you in other places, and they don't understand that you have bad days. They don't care. They want the guy that they felt on stage. Yeah, that level of energy all the time. And for me, I really wanted to have a friend to lean on. And I know that in my situations, I've been able to, and blessed with the opportunity to share my platform with multiple speakers and help them get started, and it's been great. But at the end of the day, just to be frank, right, I feel that I'm called to be the one doing like that's where I'm called to be. And even though there's a level of expectation from the crowd, right, I have to have this other thing, or I get to have this other thing to lean on. And sometimes, or most of the time, it's not people.
I know. And as you said, you can probably share with people more, but they see what we do as this glamorous life. But as you said, especially when you're traveling, it is a very lonely thing because like you've got the crowd and like they feed off the energy, but then we end up going back to a hotel room or you go to dinner by yourself, and so you're in a hotel room and you're watching, like, we never get to watch TV, so we're actually watching TV for the first time. So you're just like watching TV, like you feel like one of those like those rom-coms, like you're in there, watching TV, stuff in your face, like you're in a room by yourself, and you're like, okay, wait a second, what's going on? And I know for me, you can share with everybody what you do to get, quote, through this loneliness. But I know for me, what I've been doing, I had a friend, speaker, showed this with me was anytime I'm in a city now, I look to see if I know somebody in there and I at least ask to meet them for dinner or lunch or breakfast, especially if somebody who is a business owner and entrepreneur. And at least we can bump ideas. And one is it's a growth process because, we can learn from each other. But the other one is it does somewhat limit that loneliness because I've got my family, I have FaceTime with them, but still not the same as having somebody around you.
Yeah, it's funny. So I am the complete opposite, right? So I love going, oh man, I can't wait. I'm about to leave town tomorrow. I'm so excited, right? I go to places, I don't talk to anybody in the business. I'm meeting people on the street, coffee shops, hookah bars.
Yep.
I mean, McDonald's, Burger King. Like, and I can't wait to engage with them and talk to them and get out of the expectation of being the speak love guy, or out of the expectation of being the D&I, the diversity and inclusion guy that's bringing the message, right? And so when I'm in town, we do a lot here. Like we've done hair and nails for over 5,000 homeless ladies. We fed about 100,000 homeless people on the street. Like we've done so much stuff here that you're known as that guy in
Yep.
my neighborhood and in my area. And then there's also this expectation, you have a platform that you share. So then like you have something to give. So there's a lot of people that are coming to you either asking for money or asking for opportunities and whatever. And not everybody has the gift, right?
Yeah.
To do what you're called to do. And so it just saying no or saying yes, or the amount of time that you put into the ministry of mentoring other people, and then having a business and saying this is the expectation that we have and keeping up with this stuff. I have a girlfriend now for the first time in 10 years, which is like,
Hey,
wow,
yeah,
right?
we gotta talk more about that.
I know, right? She's super duper cool. But also, we're in the grocery store, or if we're at a restaurant, or if we're at whatever, I could see sometimes that she's frustrated because we are going out, right?
Yep.
But like for the people that are out, like they recognize me. And then I feel like I have to have a level of consistency, right? Or a level of whatever, because I'm always selling, right? Like, because in this job, people are purchasing the product, and the product is Frank Kitchen.
Yep.
Right? Like the product is the spirit that you have. And so if you're off, or you have an off day, or you're wearing a Speak Love shirt and somebody cuts you off in traffic, you feel me? Right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to find a way to operate in a different, you're like a B-level celebrity, right? And so like I really love going out of town where people don't know me. And just being Nick, because this is who Nick is. This isn't a show. And
But,
so since this is who I am, I just love being out.
yeah, but the thing is, and we can share with everybody, is ultimately what I'm describing, what you're describing is still, we're getting the full experience. We're not, if you're going to say cutting ourselves off from people, whether we're traveling or home, we're getting this full experience of life, or essentially we're living what we practice or preach on stage. So for me, I may want to go connect with people, or I may go exploring, and I'm all about growth and personal development. So I'm either going to help other people grow or help myself grow. You're talking about, hey, you're trying to live life and share that love. So when you travel, whether it be in your community, you're sharing love with people that you know, or if you travel, you're sharing love with people who you don't know, but you're still being that peace. But I know, as you said, I know I drive my wife nuts, especially if they travel with me on conferences. I'm like, hey, Dad's going to go downstairs for a few minutes. But a few minutes turns into 2 hours because everybody finds me.
Oh, yeah.
Like, well, hey, you promised us, time. And I know there's that look. It's like, because, okay, you got to kind of share Dad. Like, we've gone to places like we're at Disney World, and we're waiting for a bus. And all of a sudden some people are like, oh my God, that's the speaker. And they come up and they go to my wife's like, can you take a pic? Like, they push her out the way. Like, can you take a picture? Or is it okay if we get an autograph? And it's like, she's like, yeah, go. And she understands, and it's great that I have her. But I also look at that when I'm like, yeah, I got to, watch. And then, you go and you got your t-shirts and all stuff. So, it's like, we're still branding. Like, okay, it's like, we almost have to go with this incognito, piece. And that's why I like this conversation we're having, because this is some of the real stuff that people don't see. It's like they see the stuff, but behind the scenes.
Oh yeah. And also, when you make this your lifestyle, everyone that's in your life, your wife, your kids, everybody's going to pay a price. And you have to recognize that the way that you live your life, the way you pay your bills may be different than everybody else. With that being said, it's easy to let it get to your head. And it's easy to be in a situation where, like, hey, I'm Frank Kitchen, right?
Yep.
People pay me money to talk, right? You feel what I'm saying? And I go to places, I speak the same language they do, and they pay me thousands of dollars to do it, and pay for my hotel, rent a car, food, and everything else. So when you have a friend in the business
Mhm.
and you could talk real,
Yep.
there's a level of, I don't have to have my game face on. You know, I could put it down, and it's not as heavy to carry this weight, you know?
Oh,
And
exactly.
so I've really partnered up sometimes, and been in partnerships sometimes too long, because of the fear of being alone, you
Mhm.
know, and
Yep.
having a bad day, or being alone, and standing on stage, and people seeing the true you, people seeing your failures,
Mhm.
your successes, and the more impactful you are, for me, is based on the ability to be transparent in the moment, and that is a hard thing to do. And so I don't put on a presentation, right? That's not what we do. We have an alignment connection, and in that experience, I should call it, in that experience, there's a whole lot that's about to come together, and
Oh, yeah.
it's difficult.
Yeah. So I like you're making a good transition there, because we've been talking about this business side and what's going on out of there, but you just talked about making this emotional connection with people. For people watching this, what would you share with them? Like, someone they could be a professional speaker, or someone just trying to get over their fears of speaking. What is one, two things, whatever you want to say? Like, what would you recommend to people? Say, hey, I want to improve at speaking. I want to get comfortable on stage. Like, what would you recommend to them to give a great speech, or to engage their audience, or to feel comfortable? What would you do? Or what do
Right.
you teach people?
So the first thing that everybody who wants to be, I mean, if anybody's watching this and they're like, I want to be a speaker, please listen to what I'm about to say, because this right here is this right here is the secret sauce. Right now, if you want to be the speaker, the best thing that you possibly could do is shut up. Shut your mouth, right? That's the best thing you could ever do, because people will tell you what they want, what they're looking for, where their issues are. Like, so many times we're like, oh, I want to be a speaker, I got a good story. No one cares about your story. What they want is freedom, right? And so what we do in my company is I teach people how to get into a place, how to be transparent, how to ask the right questions, so we can find the ladder to get people to the light. That's it. That's all you got to do. And so when you do what do you call it? When you do a curriculum, or when you do a whatever, right? If it's not exactly what the people want, like if you do a presentation, a curriculum, if you have tchotchkes, t-shirts, right? If it's not what the people want, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is not gonna sell.
No.
And no one cares about just your story. As a matter of fact, the story becomes hot when there's something that provides freedom for me. Right?
Yeah.
So it's not about you overcoming obstacles. It's how do I become an obstacle overcomer? And just one more piece to this. I was in another call the other day, and they were saying that the epitome for a speaker is when they ask you to come back. Bull crap. That's horrible. Like, if you should expect them to ask, if you're any good at all, they should expect you to come back. This is flooded with horrible speakers. Like, you don't even, like, I don't know where you went to school, but almost everybody that I know of has had at least 95% speakers that were absolutely garbage. And I want more of them to flood the market, right? Because that opens
Get
the
you
door
more
for
work.
this to be exemplary. You feel what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Oh,
That
yeah.
sounded super cocky, but it's 100% real.
It's true.
Now,
It's
in
true.
that, right. In that, there is this, like, there's this thing that happens where there's speakers that make this connection. And when you make the connection, that's not where it ends. You know you're a good speaker when the people that you're talking to become great speakers and listeners. When the people that you're talking to actually do the things that make them, or that allow them to get through that ceiling into the light. Now, when you start creating transformation, now you move from being a speaker, right,
Yeah.
to being a professional. Totally different.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was working with a group last night, and I was teaching about the program we're putting together as consulting on, and going, hey, it's like, if you educate this group correctly, it's like, guess what? Once they walk out the door, you created advocates for your cause and what you're going through. It's like that's what we have to go and do, because you said they're worried all about the tchotchkes and all the pieces there, and they forgot completely about the mission. I'm like, are we here focusing on the mission, or we
Right.
focus on just, having, quote, a party or a deal? And you said that's the piece, and like you said, you're honest. That is what draw people's back. It's the case of when you speak with them, and like I told people, like, we never speak to an audience, we speak with an audience. When we speak with that
Yes.
audience, when they can go out and apply what you have taught them during that speech, that coaching, whatever, and they can go out and replicate it, that's, as you said, that's what gets you to come back. And as you said, that should be your expectation of, hey, I'm going to do such a great job they're either going to invite me back instantly in the future, or they're going to go tell people, you said this is what's been working for you. They're going to tell people, hey, you know what? You need Nick Jackson, you know? And as you said, and that's the crazy part about this business. You said about the cold calls. We can cold call people all day and they don't call us back. And I'm being honest with you right now. They don't call us back and like, man, I got no work. And then the phone will ring and there'll be like 4 or 5 people will call me and say, hey, we want you. I'm like, who are you? You don't know. I was like, well, how do you know me? Oh, I saw you speak. I really like what you taught. Can you teach it here? Or someone saw you speak and they recommend and say, you know what? You would be crazy not to have Nick Jackson.
Right.
And then that's just something that blows your mind. As you said, there's always going to be barriers. But, you know, as we start to wind down, because I know you got to jump on a flight and, you know, everything like that is, I always like to ask speakers about, you know, barriers, because I told them we can always ask about the success piece, but I always want to ask people like, what are the tough things that they go through? Because we can learn so much from that. So for you, I know you are very honest, transparent, genuine, and God is a big part of your life. And I know I will speak about God openly on stage. Now, it's not my whole program, but I'll speak about it. But I know it's a bigger piece of your program. Has this created any obstacles or barriers for you? Because once again, they want you to speak about your life. And for you, God is a huge part of your life. So how do you incorporate that into your speech on stage? And are there any, you know, if you want to say pushback from the people who ask you to come back to say, hey, you know what, Nick, we want you, but don't talk about God?
Right. So this is a 2-part answer, right? So in one, barriers. As an African-American entrepreneur, I feel a level of barriers. As a person with an operating learning disability, from kindergarten on throughout education, especially speaking in schools, that's a barrier, right? I live in a socially declined area, so people call it the hood, right? That's a barrier. And so how could a special ed student in the hood come and speak to a group of professors and professionals, right? That just so happens to be African American, just so happen, whatever barriers. Then on top of that, like being a Christian, barrier, right? But if you are an entrepreneur, you're excited to find solutions, right? And so that's the best way I could put it. So these things aren't barriers; these are actually opportunities to grow. Like how do I convey a message to a group of people that don't look like me or believe what I believe in, and all of that kind of stuff? Next, when I'm thinking about the barrier of Christianity, the honest answer is, to me, God is excellence. Now, it might be something different than everybody else, right? But the story of Jesus is not just a good, like, bedtime story, like, oh, like, man, this guy just so happened to die on the cross. No, not at all. Like, there's a level of excellence in which he lived his life. And so many times there was miracles and things that happened and transformations. And he never was like, hey, do me a favor. You could just like Jesus on my Instagram, you know what I'm saying? Hashtag Jesus rocks. No, not at all. Not at all. In most of the cases, he was like, don't tell anybody about what happened here, right? Don't say, keep your mouth shut, right? I'm just doing the job that I'm called to do. And so it makes it easy to do it. I don't even have to say that I'm a Christian. I can't even tell how many times I walk up to people and they're like, I know you, right? And it says in the word, my people will know my voice. Not necessarily that my voice has to be saying a certain thing, right? Like, people will know my voice, and that's real.
Yep. And that's just real. And that's why, you know, I connect with you. I'm friends with you. And I got to say thank you for jumping on this today, because, you know, the one piece is obviously you and I could just, you know, spit the truth, you know, even longer than this. So, you know, I got to ask you right now, would you like to come back?
Oh, man, absolutely. Listen, not only would I like to come back, this is the thing about Frank, and I'm going to say this for real. There's so many things that he does that inspires most people, and I'm one of them, right? Now, I have not done, I've done other people's podcasts. I'm totally about to make my own now. You have encouraged me in so many different ways, not only to try different things, but to do different things. Not to try it, but to actually consume and actually do. And so it's been something on my heart, and I really appreciate the way that you do it, and I'm so about to do the same thing. Good job.
Yeah, we can tell people it doesn't take much. Like, you know, you talked about barriers before. It's like we have all this technology that allows us to keep connected. I mean, you and I have actually talked across country on a radio show together. You know, now we're doing video.
Right.
I mean, so. And you said, but it's just the opportunity, once again, is if you've got a passion for whatever your content or belief is, there are resources to be able to share that, you know, out there. And as you said, it shouldn't be, you know, I know we talked about whatever, but you know what, we can't keep this stuff to ourselves. You know, we grow together when we share, and that's the reason why I've got it. But the case is too, like I said, why I call this Fresh Takes is people want to hear, especially in the speaking, they want to hear your perspective on stuff, not what they can go find on Google or go find, in a library, because they're like, hey, I can find that. The reason I come and listen to Frank as a speaker, Nick as a speaker, Susan as a speaker is because they want to hear your take on it, your perspective, what's helped you grow, or most importantly, they want to hear our failures because they're not looking for this perfect person on stage. So with that being said, you said you will come back. Until you come back, what is the best way for people to contact you? Email, website, social media? How do they keep in touch with Nick Jackson?
Yes. Please, IG, Facebook, all that. For my youth movement, it's I Am Speak Love. So hashtag I Am Speak Love, at I Am Speak Love, I Am Speak Love on Facebook. Please connect with us. And then for my professional and executive side, it's nickjacksonspeaks.com. All my information is there. And then the Nick Jackson's on my IG. Please connect because I absolutely love what I do and I'd love to share it.
Perfect. So Nick, you know what? Guys, say thank you. We will connect once we get off of this. Here we'll stay connected. Hopefully, we're going to bump each other on the road with some of our travels. I will be in Columbus in November, so maybe we can connect up in Columbus.
Oh.
But up until then, you know what? Keep speaking love. Keep changing lives in a positive way. I'll keep feeding off that energy and doing the same on my part. But once again, thank you so much, and I'll let you say bye to everybody here as we wrap things up.
Hey, if I could say one last thing, if you don't mind, Frank, live what you speak. There's so many people that want to speak, but they don't live it. Live it out. See what Frank is doing. This is a part of who he is. When he talks about play, this is a part of who he is as a human being. And it makes it easy to sell something when you live it. You don't have to make it up. Yeah. So live what you speak. Your life will be easy.
All right, everybody. Nothing else to say. So thank you, Nick. I'm sweating here. We're working it up. So we'll talk to you later. All right. All right. Let's see.